What happens when a humble monk meets a man blinded by riches? Can one gentle story shift the heart of someone drowning in wealth? And is it possible that the poorest man in the village is actually the richest in spirit? Let's begin in a peaceful little village, hidden deep within a valley surrounded by lush, green mountains. The air was crisp, the streams whispered through the trees, and time seemed to move slower there. Amidst this quiet beauty lived a wise and compassionate Buddhist monk named Venero Ananta. He wasn't famous beyond the region, nor did he desire attention. But within the village, his name was spoken with deep respect and affection. He was known not only for his profound wisdom and calm presence, but also for his gift of storytelling, each tale carrying a gentle but powerful lesson. Villagers, young and old alike, would often sit at his feet beneath the Bodhi tree, listening as he weaved stories that brought comfort in times of sadness, clarity in moments of confusion, and joy during celebrations. One sunny morning, as soft golden rays bathed the rooftops and fields in warm light, something unusual stirred the peaceful rhythm of village life. Word spread quickly, buzzing from home to home. A famous and immensely wealthy merchant was passing through their humble village. This merchant was known across distant lands, not just for the fortune he carried, but for the way he flaunted it. His arrival was no quiet affair. His caravan rolled in like a royal procession, horses adorned with silver bells, carriages lined with velvet, guards in finely embroidered garments. Jewelry sparkled even from afar. Children ran to the edge of the road, eyes wide. Shopkeepers peeked from behind their stalls. The village, usually serene, now buzzed with awe and whispers. Standing calmly at a distance, Venero Ananta observed the scene. He saw not only the spectacle, but the energy it stirred: curiosity, admiration, envy. And he quietly resolved to visit the merchant. Not out of judgment, but because he sensed a moment of teaching might unfold, one that could offer insight not just to the merchant, but to the villagers watching as well. With his usual soft steps, Venero approached the merchant's tent, a structure more fitting for royalty than for travelers. Rich fabrics hung like waterfalls from the frame, and golden ornaments shimmered in the morning sun. Two guards in deep crimson robes stood at the entrance, eyeing the monk with polite suspicion. But Venero Ananta, with a serene smile and peaceful posture, gently asked for an audience. The guards, sensing his sincerity and noticing his calm dignity, allowed him through. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of exotic incense. Cushions lined the floor, golden vases held rare flowers, and delicate chimes hung from the ceiling. The merchant welcomed him with interest, curious, perhaps even a little flattered that a monk of such repute would visit. Eager to impress, he immediately began showcasing his treasures. He spoke at length about his travels, the rare items he had collected, the lands he owned, and the influence he wielded. He spoke with pride, his voice swelling with each item he named, believing fully that his material success was the ultimate sign of happiness and power. Venero Ananta listened quietly, his expression neither critical nor impressed. He sat still like a mountain in the breeze, present, open, and grounded. And when the merchant finally paused, waiting for praise or admiration, the monk simply nodded and began to speak. "I once heard a story," Venero began gently, "of two men from a distant land. One was a humble farmer named Ananda," he said. "He had little, just a patch of land, a small hut, and a pair of worn sandals. but his heart was filled with honesty, compassion, and contentment. He never turned away a hungry traveler, never spoke with bitterness, and always shared what little he had. In the same village lived a landlord named Ravi. His wealth was vast, large estates, horses, servants, and chests full of gold. But his heart was closed. He cared little for others, seeing them as tools to serve his ambition. His only concern was to grow richer, even if it meant stepping on others along the way. Then Venero's voice grew quiet. One day, a mighty storm swept through the village. Winds howled, trees broke, rivers overflowed. By morning, both homes, Ananda's and Ravi's, lay in ruins. But what followed revealed everything, the monk continued. Though left with nothing, Ananda opened his shattered home to others. He offered shelter, a bowl of rice, a warm smile. He gave comfort despite his loss. And Ravi? Venero paused. He locked himself in a carriage and fled. The tent fell silent. The monk's voice lingered in the air like a soft breeze after a summer storm. His tale of Ananda's compassion and Ravi's indifference had already begun to stir something deep inside the wealthy merchant. Venero Ananta continued, his tone calm yet firm. While Ananda opened his humble home to those in need, he said, Ravi did the opposite. Ravi, clinging tightly to the remains of his wealth, isolated himself from his neighbors. He chose not to help, not to share, not to see their pain. In his eyes, his riches were a shield, a fortress against the struggles of others. But what he failed to realize was this: true strength does not lie in gold or stone walls. It lies in compassion, in unity, in reaching out when others are in need. The merchant sat silently, his expression more thoughtful than before. The story was doing its work. Each word was like a mirror, reflecting his own life choices, his priorities, his regrets. And then the monk gently pressed on. He spoke of how Ananda's selfless actions had inspired the entire village. Though he had lost his home, Ananda became a beacon of hope. People respected him, not for what he had, but for what he gave. His kindness healed wounds far deeper than those caused by the storm. His presence, though quiet and unassuming, left a lasting impact. The merchant's eyes lowered. He began to truly hear. Then, Venero Ananta shared the 4 timeless lessons from this tale. Lessons that, once lost, can never be fully regained. First, he said, never sacrifice your integrity. Ananda had held firmly to his values, even when disaster struck. In contrast, Ravi had allowed greed to dictate his choices. Integrity is not just about being honest, it's about staying true to who you are, especially when it's difficult. Second, never sacrifice your compassion. Ananda's heart had been open, even in loss. His empathy created bridges, while Ravi's coldness built walls. Compassion, the monk explained, is not weakness. It is the deepest strength a human can show. Third, never sacrifice your relationships. In the darkest of times, Ananda drew others together. His bonds with people became a source of warmth and support. Meanwhile, Ravi's obsession with wealth had left him utterly alone. What is the use of riches if no one stands beside you to share them? And finally, Venero said softly, never sacrifice your inner peace. Ananda found joy in simplicity. His peace came from within. Ravi, however, chased more and more, only to feel emptier inside. No treasure in the world can buy the kind of stillness that comes from a peaceful heart. The story came to a gentle end. The merchant sat quietly, humbled. He looked not at the monk, but inward, at himself. The tale had shaken something loose within him. The four things Venero spoke of, integrity, compassion, relationships, and inner peace, were not just words. They were truths, priceless truths. With sincerity in his eyes and a softened voice, the merchant bowed deeply. "Thank you," he said. "You've shown me what I could not see." He promised that from that day forward, he would no longer measure his life by the weight of his gold, but by the kindness he offered, the lives he touched, and the peace he nurtured within. Venero Ananta smiled warmly and rose to leave, knowing that the seed had been planted. The merchant returned to his grand tent, but something was different now. Though the treasures remained, his heart had shifted, and from that day he began to use his wealth not to elevate himself, but to lift others. The merchant's heart may have been the first to awaken, but it wasn't the last. Word of Venero Ananta's story spread quickly through the village. Like ripples in a still pond, it touched every home, every family, every soul. People began to reflect on their own lives, not with guilt, but with gentle curiosity. They started asking themselves, what truly matters? What do I hold most dear? And slowly, things began to change. The villagers, once caught up in small rivalries or chasing material gains, started valuing different things. They looked to the example of Ananda, not because he was wealthy, but because he was whole. Acts of kindness became more common. People helped each other not for reward, but out of a shared sense of belonging. Integrity was admired more than appearance. Compassion replaced competition. The village didn't grow in riches or in gold, but it blossomed in something far more precious: shared values, deep connections, and a spirit of unity that no storm could wash away. And so the tale of Ananda and Ravi, passed on through the gentle wisdom of Venero Ananta, became much more than just a story. It became a guiding light, a reminder, softly shining in the hearts of those who listened. Its lesson was simple, yet profound. True wealth lies not in what we own, but in what we protect. Our integrity, even when no one is watching. Our compassion, even when it's inconvenient. Our relationships, even when they're tested. And our inner peace, even when the world outside is in chaos. These four treasures, quiet, steady, and unshakable, should never be traded for anything. Not for gold, not for power, not even for fleeting praise. For they are the roots of a meaningful, fulfilling life. As the years went by, Venero Ananta continued to share his stories. His presence became a quiet pillar of the village's soul. Children would gather around him beneath the Bodhi tree, wide-eyed. Elders would nod in agreement. His tales were not entertainment, they were nourishment. His voice, calm and warm, reminded them of what they already knew in their hearts, but sometimes forgot. And this story of Ananda and Ravi traveled far beyond the village. It passed from mouth to ear, from heart to heart. Carried on the wind of time, it reached distant lands where others too were searching for meaning in a world growing louder and more distracted. As the sun dipped behind the mountains, painting the sky in amber and rose, the village shimmered with a quiet glow. Not from gold, but from understanding. The story lived on, not on scrolls or stone, but in the way people lived, loved, and treated one another. And so the teachings of Venero Ananta did not fade. They became a legacy, not of words, but of actions. Because in the end, it's not what we leave behind. It's how we live that truly matters. Don't forget to subscribe to Buddhism Seeds for more meaningful stories. Like, share, or leave us a comment below. We'd love to know what touched your heart in today's tale. Let's continue the journey of awakening together.